By now, you've all had a chance to see our press release and understand what's going on. We wanted to take a few minutes this morning to try to tie it together for you. There will be no individual interviews afterwards, no one-on-ones. We're going to try to do this in a group this morning, and we'll get to individual interviews and one-on-ones sometimes later when we've had a chance to settle this all down. So without further ado, I'd like to turn it over to the Chairman and Chief Executive of Chrysler, Mr. Iacocca.
Okay, Bud. Thank you very much. Well, I usually start, you got a full house, huh? I usually start these things by saying thanks for coming, but I'll bet we didn't have to twist any arms to get you here today. We spent $1 billion to go build a research center and have a decent press room, and here we are, back to the old green or boom boom room, as they used to call it here. You've seen the release. In fact, it appears a couple of you, Brad, have already filed the release last night, but that's the way it goes. But very seriously, now you can all come in out of the cold and stop staring up there at the chimney to see whether the puff of smoke is going to be white or black. At a special meeting Saturday night in New York, the Chrysler Board of Directors named Bob Eaton Vice Chairman and Chief Operating Officer of the company and designated him to succeed me as Chairman and CEO next January 1. As I announced last September, I'll be leaving at the end of the year. I will remain on the board and will continue as Chairman of the Executive Committee. Bob Eaton joins the company effective today, this morning. We are forming a new unit called the Office of the Chairman, comprised of Bob and me. There are no changes of responsibilities for any Chrysler executives as a result of this announcement. Now, Bob Eaton may have spent the last 29 years or so, a little over, at General Motors, but the board selected him because he fits in with the management philosophy and the management team that we built here at Chrysler. And that philosophy focuses squarely on customer satisfaction and is driven by a relentless pursuit of quality, an equally dogged determination, as you've seen the last couple of years, to cut every atom of waste and inefficiency out of the system. He is a product man first and foremost, but he also understands that the right public policies along with the right products are essential to the future success of this company and, of course, of the American auto industry as a whole. As to his ability to run a company the size of Chrysler, I only need to point you toward his record as president of General Motors of Europe for the past 4 years. He led an effort that improved product quality by as much as 50% in his major facilities, and that reduced his total costs enough to make General Motors of Europe the lowest cost producer in all of Europe. The company is now producing 25% more cars with 10% fewer people. I don't have to remind you that Chrysler's been on that same path here in the United States. In the past 10 years, he's been doing what we've been doing, integrating engineering and manufacturing operations into cohesive teams, developing and running a huge tech center, which he did here in the U.S., the GM Tech Center, developing and marketing a high-quality American small car like the Saturn project, which he started with, and looking at alternate fuels, fuel vehicles, including electric cars. And maybe most important, the last 4 years in his general management position, he's been earning, I ask him how the hell he does this, earning a remarkable 9% return on sales in Europe. Now, for these and a lot of other reasons, the board decided that Bob Eaton was the right man to lead Chrysler through the decade of the 90s and into the 21st century. It's amazing what youth does for you. You can talk about the 21st century. And I agree with this decision 100%. Now, as you would expect, it was not an easy decision. We were very fortunate to have a number of candidates inside the company and outside, all of whom were qualified for this position. The board did a painstaking, you might say almost exhaustive review of every one of them. Some of you called it embarrassingly slow. It didn't embarrass us, it may embarrass some of you. But it wasn't methodical. They were doing their job, and maybe you were the only guys in haste, but we think it was done right. Bob Eaton was selected, though, simply because he was deemed to be the most qualified. I'd like to make this point clear because there's been a lot of speculation about this selection process. Some of it, I might add, right off the wall. This was a positive decision by our board. This was not a negative decision. The board didn't find anything wrong with any of the many candidates we looked at. It simply found something very right about Bob Eaton, right for this company at this time. And it's as simple as that. Now we're going to have, we're fortunate, God blessed us. We're going to have two Bobs teamed up at the top of Chrysler, and I happen to think it's going to be one hell of a team. I think one of the best car guy teams leading any company in the world. And if you throw in Jerry York as Chief Financial officer, this team is formidable. As the kids would say, you might say it's awesome. Now, you people in this room know that in 1979, 80, and 81, we went through some tough times in this company. And then came a turnaround, which many of you reported as historic because we avoided disaster. We stayed afloat. That's all we were trying to do. But I want to tell you this morning, that was nothing compared to what's coming up. So you get your pens and pencils, or whatever you use these days in the media, get them ready, because I think we're poised in this company for a mind-boggling performance in the next couple of years. And after 46 years in this business, I'm sorry to add, I've never felt more confident than I am about this total management team at Chrysler. And before I introduce the new Bob, I said, coming down, we'll get a lot of Bobs. Bob Stempel, Red Poling changed his name to Bob Poling, we got it covered here. Before I introduce the new Bob, Bob Lutz is asking me if he could say a few words. Bob, why don't you come up here a minute?
Okay. Thank you, Lee. I'm sure that you're asking yourself the question, am I disappointed? And of course I am. I mean, who wouldn't be under the circumstances? But the board, as Lee said, weighing all factors, decided that Bob Eaton, whom I have known for years and whom I greatly respect, they've decided that he should be the next CEO of Chrysler Corporation, and I accept and respect that decision. Being a team player, which I like to think I am, means that you don't sulk or quit when the decision is made that somebody else should be the captain of the team. Especially, you don't sulk or quit when the captain of the team that's selected is somebody of the caliber of Bob Eaton, who shares all of the same values of the team that I've been privileged to lead in operations for the last 2 years, which is total focus on customer satisfaction, teamwork, world-class quality, and absolute vehicle excellence and lean production. And I'll tell you, every time I go to Europe, I would look at all of the new Opels, the Vectra, which, by the way, we bought one or two to analyze for some of our upcoming products. We bought it about 2 years ago. And I always told myself, boy, Bob Eaton's doing a great job over there. Never, of course, dreaming that he would be my boss. But I agree with Lee, even if this does sound a little bit self-serving. I think the combination of officers, top officers, that are going to lead this corporation into the future is, in my judgment, now even stronger than before, and without question, the best in the industry. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you. Well, thank you very much, Bob. And I guess why don't both of us now officially welcome Bob Eaton to Chrysler, huh? And come up here, Bob. Stand. Sit down. Bob, have your board. Bob.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There we go.
Get down. Rebecca. Right here, gentlemen.
Right there.
Right here.
Okay.
Oh, right there, huh?
Yeah, sure.
Closer. Hug these guys.
Big smile. One more for the time.
You got it? Okay. Bob Eaton.
Okay, thank you very much, Lee. I think I remember that someone once said, asked Lee when he first came to Chrysler back in 1978, he said something to the effect that this happened to be the best job available in the whole auto industry at that time. Well, obviously I could say the same thing today, but I could obviously also say that having the chance to lead Chrysler at this particular point in time has to be the best job in the whole auto industry, period. And believe me, I know that's a credit to Lee and the truly outstanding team that he's put together here at Chrysler. We don't do a lot of crosstown fraternization in this industry, as you know. In fact, I gotta tell you that this is the first time that I've been through the gates here at Highland Park in almost 30 years in this business. But believe me, we do know each other well because we study each other every day, and especially we study each other's products. So I do know something about the products that Chrysler is launching this year, and I know something about what they've got in the pipeline that's coming in the future. And I also know, at least by reputation, the people who've been developing these products. And I gotta tell you, I'm very, very happy to be here at Chrysler. But I'm also fully aware of the changes and the challenges that are coming at us. While I'm excited and grateful to join Chrysler, just when a lot of hard work is about to pay off, I also understand that the global auto market is going to be very tough in the years ahead. It's going to be absolutely unforgiving. But Chrysler has seen the future maybe a little more clearly than some of the other companies in the industry. And it certainly saw it a little bit earlier and began to develop the leanness and the agility to cope with it. But of course, I'm not here today to tell you what I know about Chrysler. In fact, being this first day on the job, what I really am here to tell you that I'm going to be over the next few months learning a lot more about Chrysler. But believe me, it's an honor to be here. I can honestly say that I'm looking forward to the months and years ahead more than I've ever looked forward to anything in my life. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Bob. Thank you. Well, as we ensconce ourselves at the table here, we'll take any questions you might have. Hello, Paul.
Mr. Iacocca, can you tell
How are
us
you?
specifically why Mr. Eaton was chosen, what it was about his background, the profitability, the low-cost factor?
Well, Jennifer, I think I've covered that. There were 11 votes, 11 people. It was unanimous, and they studied him hard, and they went over everybody, and there were probably up to a dozen candidates. That's something that the press never picked up. It's unbelievable. It's the only thing they didn't pick up. But they reviewed the qualifications and decided where we stood at this point in our history, literally. We have some great things in place. They got to come to pass. We have a $1 billion research center. That's got to start to work. And now it's brick and mortar. We've got a lot of new plants. We've got new products to launch. And it was felt that overall that this was their best selection. That's all I can tell you about it. But it was they did a good job. In fact, they should feel proud because that's what all boards should do when it comes to the most important matter they have to do is succession. They spent a good 6 to 7 months of hard work on this.
Bob Eaton, considering the structure at General Motors over the years, considering what Chrysler Corporation is trying to do with team structures and the like inside this corporation, what will be the most difficult transition in the way you do business and the way you think about corporations?
Well, my most recent experience in Europe runs very, very similar to what Chrysler runs, without a lot of structure, without a lot of committees, without a lot of bureaucracy. So I don't think the transition will be very great at all.
Mr. Iacocca, where did Gerald Greenwald fit into all of this? A lot of speculation on our part about where he was. Can you clear that up for us? Was he interested in returning? Would he possibly return?
I didn't know so many people were interested in this job. It's a racket, you know. But, yeah, he was one of the guys interested, and he was one of that dirty dozen. And yeah, he was interested.
When did you first contact Mr. Eaton?
Well, in the last, I don't know, a few months back. This process is on 7 months, a few months ago, Paul.
Can you give some more specifically?
Then you want a day, Paul, and an hour. It's been a couple months ago. What can I tell you?
You come from a company that is very stridently free trade and always has been, and your current boss is unapologetically protectionist. How are you going to reconcile this thing?
Well, you haven't read Eaton's best stuff out of Europe.
Yeah, you need to read Leinert's column of 6 months ago.
I'm sorry.
I've not been a free trader for one heck of a long time. Maybe 20 years ago, I was idealistic enough to think that was appropriate. Then I transitioned to fair trade, and then I've decided even that's You've got to have trade on a level playing field, over time, you can't expect to export the standard of living and the wealth of from one developed nation to the other. So yeah, I think we've got some work to be done in the trade area.
Does that mean you are going to support?
He won't be as strident as I. He'll cool down a little bit.
You will not be as strident as you. Does that mean that you are going to push for limitations and a reduction in the number of automobiles coming over here from Japan?
I can tell you I've been in Europe thinking about totally different things, and as I get over here and get into it, I'll come forward with a position.
Hey, could you explain
Good.
about the office of the chairman? Will it still be the two of you after Mr. Iacocca retires?
No. After I retire?
Yeah.
No. At the moment, it's planned at year end that there be a chief executive and a president in separate offices.
Could you elaborate on exactly what your role will be as chairman of the executive committee?
Playing golf. No, an executive committee, you got to define responsibility. Every board has one, and it meets in lieu of a full board at times on major matters, but it has to be done, that committee, as part of the board in close cooperation with the CEO. So I will not be a big force around here. I will be taking it easy and looking in on things, and hopefully I'll be back to look at 93 and 94 things as the two boom years I predict they're going to be with these guys. But that's strictly my role. I'll be gone.
Bob Eaton, what factors did GM cause you to consider this, and what factors here cause you to consider?
No factor at GM caused me to consider it. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and that's all there was. I had 29 happy years at GM, and if this hadn't come along, obviously I'd still be there. But believe me, this is a tremendous opportunity, and I couldn't be happier.
When did you decide that you wanted to come over here?
Saturday night about 10 o'clock.
Bob Eaton, this comes at a time when many people at General Motors are facing an early retirement decision. Did that play any impact? Did that have any impact here? Did you take an early retirement over?
No, I'm afraid that wasn't offered, but absolutely not.
How about Europe and Chrysler in the future? What do you see there?
Clearly a growth area for Chrysler, without a doubt. As you probably know, Chrysler does fairly well in Europe right now. And I live in Zurich, Switzerland right now, and I've talked to a lot of local people before this ever came up, and they were talking about the long waits for Cherokees and so forth. So I think there's a good opportunity for us.
Major plans to go over there, fund a partnership, do anything to improve their presence over
Yeah,
there?
I've been here about 2 hours.
It'll be a while before we go to Hungary and Poland.
Yeah, there you go.
In
In
those,
Hungary and Poland, though,
in
that's
those 2 hours, if you will, what do you think is your biggest challenge taking over the reins here?
The industry's got a lot of challenges. There's no question about it. When you look at what's happened to this market, the economy, clearly the economy's got to come back. We've got a lot of products to launch, but those, I think both of those are going to happen. The economy is going to come back, and Chrysler's got the pipeline full of excellent products, and getting those launched correctly will be the major challenge.
Mr. Iacocca, there was a lot of speculation that you want to stay on a little bit longer.
On your part, right, the press. What are you going to do tomorrow? What are you going to speculate on, guys? It's going to be a hell of a dull day tomorrow.
How difficult is it going to be to step down?
Excuse me?
How difficult will it be to step down after all?
Well, I've been thinking about it for about a year and a half. It's always difficult after 46 long years of toiling in these vineyards, but it comes to all men, It'll come to you young people one day, and you'll have to decide when to step aside. I think now the time is right for me and right for this company, and that's what we're doing. And things are going to be okay for me, I hope, and for the company, more importantly.
Mr. Lutz, you've mentioned that you were indeed disappointed, as anyone would be. You're going to stay on for the long haul?
I certainly hope so. And, as long a haul as it can be when you're age 60. And I am certainly going to give this my absolute best. I said to my officers this morning, for the next 8 months or so, we're going to work like hell to support Lee and Bob, and after that, we're going to work like hell to support Bob. And I think we can do this without losing any momentum, and in fact, we will gain more momentum as time goes by. So, yes, I meant what I said. In fact, my statement I wrote myself. I wrote it yesterday, and I truly mean that. I'm disappointed that I didn't get the top job. But I think we have got an absolutely superb leader, and the beautiful thing is, I think we share exactly the same values as to how to make a Western automobile company excellent and competitive with the Japanese. And that I've invested considerable amounts of my creative energy and skills in leading the team towards the products that Bob just referred to. And I sure as heck wouldn't want to miss being around as we bring those to fruition and see them in the marketplace.
Lee, how do you feel beyond being time to step down? How do you feel about it? You spent your entire life in this corporation. People say...
No, only 14 years, 32 at the other one. I think I'd go to GM for a year and really, along with Benny. No, how do I feel? It's time. It's almost half a century. I mean, goodness. I've enjoyed it. I think we're in the threshold of great things. I think there's exciting, dangerous times coming up. Taking on the Japanese, being a world competitor, deciding what your niche in the world is. I think that's going to be fantastic. I wish I were younger. I said this to you before, I wish I were younger to spend a couple of years at the CTC, at the Technology Center. It'd be more fun than you've ever had doing cars than having a playpen like that. I'm going to miss that. But I'll come back. These guys will have things in good hands, so I'm not concerned at all. That's my point.
Could the previews address the, whether or not Chrysler can remain an independent car maker completely over there?
Oh, Jesus, we've answered that so much, Brad. You write it 10 different ways. I tell you the same thing each time, though. There's only one way. The next 5 years, we got one hell of a plan, I think. It's our 5-year rolling product plan. It's set at $3.5 billion a year, as we have the last 5 for the next 5, and adjusted for inflation. So after that, if the world shakes, I don't know what's going to happen. I've said by the year 2000 there may be major changes, but I've never even suggested that we are being propelled or compelled into a merger. We should do more alliances. I think the starting of cooperation between Ford, General Motors, and Chrysler is the big event of the decade, and we've all missed it. Because we're finally getting together, a la Japan, to take through these consortia to get things done, be they electric cars or environmental concerns or whatever. So I think that's one of the big things happening. Now, will we have joint ventures like we have with the New Venture Gear? There should be more of those, in my opinion. GM and Ford may not want to do that, but we have this big venture with General Motors that was unheard of just a few years ago. We're going to have to do more of that. Europe does these alliances. They don't do mergers. They do all kinds of combinations where they feel they're needed, both in the truck business and the engine business. They've always done more than we have. We've always been sort of insular. We've never wanted to talk to one another. I might say antitrust got our attention when we sat down to talk to one another here, but that's rapidly changing. So I don't think we should think in terms of merger in this company, and we should bury that right now, is what I'm saying to you, Brad. You can print that, Brad. Bury it.
Mr. Eaton, how do you feel about leaving General Motors after 29 years there?
Well, obviously, there's some emotion there. That's a big portion of my life, and a portion of my life that I enjoyed. But on the other hand, the opportunity here, I don't look back at that as being anything besides pleasant, and I don't look forward except to say that it's a tremendous opportunity, a tremendous challenge to work with this team, to really move the whole corporation in the direction that they were going. I find it very exciting, and that keeps me from having any emotional ties or
I see your
major
boss
emotional
wishes
problems.
you well. How well do you think he wishes you?
Well, we had an excellent conversation yesterday. I've known him for 20-some years, and it was a very cordial, very nice conversation. We wished each other well, and I'm sure we're both sincere.
Well, you know, it's tough to talk, but I spoke with him last night, too, after Bob had spoken with him, and Stanton, in his usual gracious way, all he said was, you're getting one hell of a guy. We had great plans for him. But the opportunities are so infrequent, his words, to be given charge of a company that what could he do but take it? So he wishes him well. And so we had a nice conversation. I thought I should.
Did he call you or did you call him?
Well, no, I called him. I was the guy doing the pirating. I mean, you know, if you want to call it that, but I thought I should do that. I've known Bob many years, and it's the right thing to do.
Mr. Eaton, did the timing have anything to do with you getting a chance to see that first Opel come off the line in Hungary the other day? Did you want to delay anything, or was that just coincidental that a big...
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Mr. Iacocca, why didn't Mr. Lutz get the position?
Well, we were lucky, as I said, we had, Bob Lutz has done a fantastic job. You gotta remember, I hired Bob Lutz at Ford of Europe 15 years ago, and then I hired him at Chrysler 5 years ago, so I knew what he could do. And he deserves all the accolades he gets, because he's worked hard the last 5 years to develop this team spirit. And we had a 400 hitter, I think, in Bob. In Bob Eaton, that's what it's all about. Bob's strength, he's got this great marketing sense, great product planning ability, loves cars. And hitching up with Bob Eaton, who spent all his life tying together engineering and manufacturing and concentrating full tilt on quality, the two of them together, I think, are going to complement each other beautifully. So it was a tough call, because but that's what makes teams. We had a good, let's call it a good hitter, we needed a good pitcher, and we put them together. And that's what I think we have here. And I really mean that. I think it's, I don't have to say it to you guys, I won't be seeing you much anymore, thank God. But after 46 years, I really think if you retreat a minute and start thinking about this, we have got one hell of a ball club put together. So watch our smoke. Watch their smoke, I mean.
What of the much speculated animosity between you and Mr. Lutz?
Crap.
Is that really your-
Crap, spelled with a big C. Bob and I, 15 years, I guess, at least, been in the trenches together in Europe and here. And we get along fine. They're usually in running a big company. Sure, there are always tensions of one type or another, especially when you're losing your shirt the last 3 years like we have been. But that's been trumped up by you people. There is no such thing. And Bob can speak to that.
Yeah, that was one of the things that has always bothered me most. There's usually a phrase like, both have strong personalities, and it is known that they frequently tangle over...
Cigar to cigar.
Yes. And it's also said that the other popular fiction is that Lutz fiercely wants Chrysler to remain independent no matter what, whereas Lee Iacocca favors merging with a larger automaker. And I wish really that you folks would expunge both of those from your files. I have had a collegial, business-like, pleasant relationship with Lee, and I will tell you something. There is no way that we could have accomplished what we accomplished without Lee giving the operations team the total support. I mean, there was just never any backbiting or infighting or second guessing. Lee has really exercised the type of leadership that has permitted the platform team concept and the empowerment of the people to take hold. We never had a disagreement, and I think you heard from the chairman's statement this morning that there is not now, nor has there ever been, any difference of opinion on the future course that Chrysler should take with respect to relationships or mergers with other automobile companies.
Bob Eaton, your predecessor took about half of Ford management with him when he came here. Do you expect some GM people to follow you here? And related question, is there a plan to give the COO title to Bob Lutz next January?
Well, obviously, the answer to the second one first, that's an issue for the board, and it's something that at this point has not been discussed at all. With respect to the first question, we got a strong team here, and I don't expect to have to augment it with people from GM or anyplace else at this point in time.
Mr. Lutz, you said that in some ways the new management combination is even stronger than before. Can you give us a couple of examples?
Well, you know, I wouldn't want to in any way diminish anybody or anything, and I think I'm extremely strong, and I think Bob Eaton is obviously at least as strong or stronger, and Jerry York is as fine a chief financial officer as I've ever encountered. One of the reasons he is so good is because unlike many people in finance, he has an engineering background and has very broad operating experience. And I just think the combination of two car guys, both with heavy international experience, which I think is essential, and both with a true love for great vehicles, and with a philosophy that teamwork is going to get the job done. That combination, plus a great CFO, and plus for the next 8 months or so, the continued benevolent guidance of our current chairman, I just think we're
How soon they
stronger.
forget. Look at don't use statesman on me now, I'll tell you.
I just think that's one hell of a strong combination.
Mr. Iacocca, did the board nudge you to make this decision now, or had you planned to make it later? And was Mr. Eaton the first choice or not?
Well, was he first choice? I told you it was unanimously voted that he should be the guy to be elected to this position. And I was involved just as one of many, but they had a succession committee, 3 people, and they did all the heavy lifting. And then it was they who went to the other 7 board members and presented the case for Bob Eaton in this case.
Did Mr. Lutz vote on that, or do you have to abstain?
We went through that legally. He abstains. Really, the decision is made independently by the 10. Mine can be noted, but I couldn't influence it. If it were 5-5, I couldn't be the tiebreaker. That's not allowed.
Mr. Iacocca, you were quoted a couple of weeks ago saying you had 3 names in mind. It was very public and it appeared in a couple of
Did I say that?
Yes, you did. What were the 3 names that you had in mind?
Of the dozen, I'm not going to tell you that. I'd say a couple of them are sitting with me.
Well, if you wanted to turn it down,
Yeah, I was the third one. I had me in mind. The 3 of us.
were other people offered the job and turned it down?
No,
Nobody.
no, we weren't out shopping that way, no.
But Bobby, you're replacing a guy who's been on Time Magazine about 20 or 30 times on the cover.
4, cut the crap.
Obviously, a very personal appeal with the American public, best-selling author. How is your regime going to differ in tone and style from the previous?
First of all, I'm a lousy writer. But no, Lee's Lee and I'm me, and we're a little bit different than that. All the things that he's gone through to build this company, and previous to that at Ford, and gave him a national position that I don't aspire to or probably never have. I intend to be right here, doing everything I can to build the strongest team, to build the strongest products, with the best customer satisfaction, the highest quality, and the lowest cost. That'll be fine.
So you're not gonna be in the forefront as an industry spokesman? Is that what you're saying? You're gonna be lower key?
Well, I'll be out there as the other heads of auto companies, but I won't have the national prominence of Lee Iacocca, nor would anybody else that follows Lee Iacocca.
I expect he will one day. He's young. Just give him time, will you?
Does that mean you're not going to do commercials?
That doesn't mean anything besides what I just said.
Would you like to do commercials?
I doubt if I would have the appeal that Lee has in commercials, so that probably wouldn't be something the marketing guys would be interested in at all.
Mr. Iacocca, do you intend to continue doing commercials after you retire?
No. It's hard work. I just did, I hope my final one. I got one more to do and then I'm done. This one was like 100 takes, 8 hours, and I don't get paid for it, and that's not fair. But I'm out of here. I'm out of here, really.
Well, you'll be living out in LA, maybe Hollywood's
Yeah,
pretty close.
I'm gonna go Hollywood, right? After all these years.
One of your big challenges, obviously, is financial. And I don't see a finance guy here. Does this make Jerry York increasingly significant?
Well, there's no question. Jerry York was made the CFO of this company, put on the board of directors, and he's got a major role to play, just as the rest of us do. Had a conversation with him, and to add to what Bob said, he's a CFO that's only spent 5.5 years in financial. The rest of it's been an operating position. That's unique, I think, in this industry.
Mr. Iacocca, is it a bit of a relief to have this decision made and therefore the speculation ends and everyone knows where they're going from here on out?
Oh, yeah, man. Who's that, Jennifer?
Yes, sir.
Man, does it ever. Yep, it's good to have it behind you. Yeah.
Do you anticipate any other announcements in terms of other management?
No, this is big enough for one day, isn't it?
Well, for today, sure,
Yeah.
but I mean.
What are you gonna do for me tomorrow, right? No, nothing planned beyond this, okay?
Well, your credentials here are based on a lot of engineering and the Chairman fund. What is your background as in with labor situations?
I've had some experience in that throughout my career, but not to the extent that I suspect I'll have in the future.
Mr. Iacocca, will you maintain an office here for?
Don't know.
Was one of the requirements for Mr. Eaton to become chairman that Mr. Lutz stay? Was that one of the board's requirements?
Well, I wouldn't say requirements. Bob is a very important part of this company, and we certainly wanted to make sure he would stick around he says he's 60, but he's still got 5 good years ahead of him. So certainly that was a big part of the total discussion, because So you don't do these things in a vacuum. You look at the total team and what you need, and that's why we bring up these, we're bringing up Lutz, why we're bringing up York. I could add a few other people, but these are the key people in this company today for the next couple of years. So that was obviously discussed at length.
That Mr. Lutz would stay.
Yes.
And that was part of the requirements.
Well, that was certainly
When
one
you
of
found
our
out
biggest
that-
motivations. I mean, objectives.
Mr. Lutz, when you found out that you weren't going to be Mr. Iacocca's successor, were you given any reasons?
No, it was exactly as Lee described it. The board looked at all the candidates, and after a lot of discussion, which obviously I wasn't privy to, the board decided that for a whole host of reasons, they decided that Mr. Eaton would be overall, in the eyes of the board, a better selection for CEO than myself. And I don't need any more reason than that.
Would it be your hope to be COO?
Well, as Bob Eaton said, that is ultimately going to be a matter for the board to decide.
When will Mr. Eaton actually come in and start taking your new position?
About an hour ago.
Yeah, 8 o'clock. I was here at 8.
Mr. Lutz, were you given any assurances by the board about your continuation in your role in the company?
Well, I'd prefer not to comment on that. But you see me here and apparently content, so.
Well, I can speak for the board on that. I sat with Bob yesterday. I gave him plenty of assurance. We need Bob for the next couple of years, Bob Lutz. We really need him. So I sat with him and told him that don't worry about a thing, and he's been gracious in accepting this as a tough time. This is like deja vu for me. I seen 14 years ago, I sat at a table with Henry Ford and another guy, and it's tough. There's only one winner and one runner-up, and it's tough for Bob. I've gone through that. I've lived through that. But I think he's not only a good soldier, he's a damn good auto man, and this is his life, and he and Bob Eaton will get together and make one hell of a team. That's all I can tell you. And the board knows that, and I don't know that. And I'm dedicated to making it work for them, because I'm leaving.
Bob Eaton, what's your schedule to meet other Chrysler executives, other employees? You've had some meetings today already, right?
Had some meetings yesterday. Frankly, I'm going to take a few days to try to really understand a lot more about this company, and I'll be meeting people as we go forward, but I don't have a schedule put together as yet.
Don't tell them where you're hiding out, Bob.
No, won't tell them that.
Okay, one or two more?
Mr. Eaton, have you found a house here yet?
I still have a house.
You still have a house?
I kept a house. I slept there last night.
Yeah. Bluefield Hill? Address, phone number?
One more over here, Paul.
Have you had assurances from other important executives such as Mr. Castang that there will be continuity at those ranks throughout the company?
I don't know.
Who was that for, Paul?
Paul Eisen said.
I'm leaving that open.
Paul, say the question.
Try it again then.
Have you received signs of assurance from, for example, Mr. Castang, that there will be continuity at other ranks throughout the company during this
Well,
transition?
Bob talked his direct reports. I talked to a number of people at my home yesterday and had long discussions with them to give them some advance notice rather than waiting for this morning. And these are key people, and yes, I tried to reassure them, and guess what? They're team players, they reassured me, and I feel good about it. I really feel good about all our meetings yesterday at my house.
And I've got a lot of assurances as well.
And Bob was in with them, and I introduced him to a lot of people we had never met at home yesterday, and I think Bob can speak to that too, but I think we feel good about it.
You mean you had them into your home yesterday?
Yes.
For a face-to-face meeting or something?
Yes.
How many people?
We work on Sundays. How many people? Now you want to know what we eat? No, come on, guys. There were a number of people, a number of the top people in the company. Talked to Bob Lutz, talked to a few other people all day long, had meetings all day long.
One more from Paul Leinert back there.
Lee, do you think this country needs a meaty, and do you have any interest in running an agency like that?
It needs one, and yeah, maybe I would give the Japanese people. I have a bad stomach this past week, a lot of pressure and stuff, but it would give all of Japan a bad stomach if a guy like me was ever appointed to meaty. But we need something like that. We really do. I mean, I don't know what form it would take. You should ask that of a candidate for the presidency. You know, how will you manage the trade that everybody in the world admits they're managing except us? Why don't you organize it? It should be a great thing. But let them find somebody else. Geez, I'm just getting out of one cauldron. I don't want to go into another. Thank you. Thank you for coming, everybody.
Thank you.
Good to be with you. Low these many years, good to be with you people. Okay.
Jennifer, they'll do it downtown. Yeah, you can.